The villa cost me $565,000 to build. When I finally discovered the mortgages, there were three of them totaling $728,000 against a property that Somsri had convinced me was unencumbered and secure. First mortgage was $280,000, taken out 6 months after construction finished. Second mortgage was $260,000 about a year after that. Third mortgage was $188,000, taken just 3 months before I found out about any of them. I'm Oswald, 70 years old now, and I spent 43 years buying and selling investment properties in Sydney and Melbourne before I retired to Thailand, thinking I understood real estate well, enough to protect myself anywhere in the world. I made my first property purchase in 1979 when I was 25. Small terrace house in Surrey Hills that cost $42,000. Borrowed most of it, renovated on weekends, sold it 2 years later for $68,000. Used the profit to buy another property, then another. By the mid-80s, I was doing 3 to 4 transactions a year, building a portfolio, learning about market cycles and rental yields and depreciation schedules. I understood property. It was my language. I could walk through a house and know within 15 minutes what it would rent for, what repairs it needed, whether the price made sense as an investment. I married Christine in 1981. We had 2 daughters, both of them grown now with families of their own in Brisbane and Perth. Christine and I had what I thought was a decent marriage for 36 years. We weren't passionate people, but we were compatible. We built the property business together. She managed tenants and maintenance issues while I handled acquisitions and sales. The portfolio grew to 17 properties by 2015. We were wealthy, comfortable, set for retirement, with multiple income streams from rental returns. Christine died in January 2017. Massive stroke, no warning, gone before the ambulance arrived. She was 61. I was 63, and suddenly living alone in a 4-bedroom house in Mosman that we'd bought as a renovation project 20 years earlier. The daughters came for the funeral and stayed a few weeks helping me sort through Christine's belongings, but they had their own lives. I wasn't their responsibility. I started selling off properties after Christine died, because managing 17 rental units without her felt overwhelming. Sold 14 of them over 18 months. Kept 3 in Sydney as long-term holds. Had about $725,000 in cash after paying capital gains tax and settling the estate. I visited Thailand for the first time in March 2018. Friend from the property investment scene had retired to Hua Hin a few years earlier, kept telling me I should visit. I went for 2 weeks, stayed at a resort near the beach, spent time with my friend who showed me around the area. Hua Hin felt manageable compared to Bangkok. Smaller city beach town atmosphere, enough expats that you could find familiar conveniences but still distinctly Thai. My friend had built a house there for about $200,000. Said the cost of living was a quarter of what he'd been spending in Sydney. He said I should consider it seriously, that my money would go much further in Thailand, and I'd have a better quality of life than sitting alone in that big house in Mosman. I went back to Sydney thinking about it. The house in Mosman felt empty. My daughters lived interstate and visited maybe twice a year. Most of my social circle had been connected to the property business or to Christine, and without either of those, I didn't have much keeping me engaged. I returned to Hua Hin in June 2018 for another visit, this time specifically to look at real estate and understand the market dynamics. Spent 3 weeks viewing properties, talking to developers, researching land prices and construction costs. Foreigners can't own land in Thailand, but they can own the building on the land through various legal structures. The most common approach is a long-term lease on the land, usually 30 years with renewal options, and full ownership of the building itself. My friend explained this carefully. Said you needed good lawyers to draft the lease agreements properly, but if done correctly, it was secure. Alternatively, you could buy land through a Thai company structure where you owned a minority stake, though that came with different legal complexities and risks. The lease approach seemed simpler and more straightforward. I met Somsri in July 2018 during my third trip to Hua Hin. She worked at a property development company that specialized in building houses for foreign buyers. I'd gone to their office to inquire about purchasing an existing villa they had listed. Somsri was the sales agent who showed me the property. 29 years old, excellent English, understood property terminology, asked intelligent questions about what I was looking for in terms of size and location and budget. The villa I'd inquired about didn't interest me after viewing it, but Somsri suggested I might want to consider buying land and building custom rather than purchasing existing stock. Building custom made sense to me as an investor. You could control the specifications, ensure quality construction, design exactly what you wanted rather than compromising on someone else's choices. Somsri said her company handled the entire process. They'd help find appropriate land, manage the construction, deal with permits and contractors, provide regular progress updates. She said many of their clients were Australian or European retirees building retirement villas. She showed me photos of completed projects, gave me contact information for previous clients I could speak with for references. I called 3 of the references. All of them gave positive feedback about the company and specifically about Somsri. Said she'd been professional and responsive, that their projects had come in on budget and schedule, that they were happy with the results. One couple from Perth said they'd recommend her without hesitation, that she'd gone above and beyond to help them navigate Thai bureaucracy and language barriers. The due diligence checked out. I bought land in August 2018. Small plot about 3 kilometers from the beach, half a rai, which is about 800 square meters. The land was owned by a Thai family who wanted to sell. Purchase price was 3.2 million baht, roughly 105,000 Australian dollars at the exchange rate then. The legal structure was a 30-year lease with 2 30-year renewal options, essentially giving me 90 years of land rights. My Thai lawyer reviewed the lease documents and said they were standard and properly drafted. I paid the family directly, registered the lease at the land office, owned the right to build on that plot for 9 decades. Somsri helped me design the villa over the next month. I wanted something modern but practical. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, open-plan living areas, western kitchen, covered terrace with pool. Nothing extravagant but comfortable and well-built. Somsri coordinated with an architect to draft plans based on my specifications. The construction quote came to 8.4 million baht, about 275,000 Australian dollars. This would include everything: foundation work, structure, roof, windows, plumbing, electrical, built-in furniture, appliances, pool, landscaping. She said the timeline would be 7 to 8 months from start to finish. I paid a 30% deposit in September 2018 to begin construction. 2.5 million baht, roughly $82,000. The construction started immediately. Foundation work, site clearing, materials delivered. Somsri sent me photos every week showing progress. I visited in November and saw the structure going up. The frame was completed, walls were being built, roof framing was starting. Everything looked professional and on schedule. The relationship with Somsri became personal during that November visit. Not romantically at first, more like friendly. She took me to dinner at local restaurants, introduced me to her family who lived in Hua Hin. Her parents were retired, father had worked in hotel management, mother had run a small shop. She had a younger brother studying at university in Bangkok. The family was middle-class Thai, not wealthy but comfortable, educated, respectable. Her father spoke some English, and we talked about property markets and tourism development in Hua Hin. They were welcoming and kind. Somsri and I spent more time together during that visit. She showed me parts of Hua Hin tourists didn't typically see. Night markets where locals shopped, temples off the main roads, beaches that weren't in guidebooks. By the end of the week, we'd become intimate. I hadn't been with anyone since Christine died, and frankly, I hadn't thought I would be again at 64 years old. But Somsri made it seem natural rather than transactional. She said she found me interesting and mature, that Thai men her age were childish and unreliable. She said the age difference didn't concern her, that stability and character mattered more than birth date. I returned to Sydney in December feeling energized. The villa construction was progressing well. I had a relationship developing with someone who seemed genuine and intelligent, and I had a concrete plan for my retirement rather than just sitting in an empty house waiting to die. I sold the Mosman house in January 2019 for $2.1 million, moved temporarily into a serviced apartment while sorting out my permanent move to Thailand, made my next progress payment on the villa construction, another 2.5 million baht in February 2019. I moved to Thailand permanently in March 2019. Got a retirement visa which required showing 800,000 baht in a Thai bank account and proof of monthly income above 65,000 baht, both of which I easily qualified for. Rented a condo in Hua Hin short-term while waiting for the villa to finish. The construction was about 60% complete by then. Interior walls were up, plumbing and electrical rough-ins were done, tiles were being laid. Somsri said we'd be finished by May, right on the original 7-month timeline. Living in Hua Hin near Somsri changed the relationship dynamic. We were together constantly. She'd pick me up in the mornings and we'd visit the construction site together, then have lunch. Then she'd go handle other work matters while I explored town or sat in coffee shops reading. Evenings we'd have dinner together, go for walks along the beach, talk about plans for furnishing the villa, and what our life would look like once it was finished. Marriage came up in April 2019. Not as a proposal, more as a practical discussion. Somsri said if we were going to live together long-term, her family would expect us to be married. She said Thai culture viewed unmarried cohabitation as disrespectful, that her parents were already uncomfortable with how much time she spent with me without formal commitment. I was hesitant about remarrying. Christine had only been dead for 2 years. I had daughters who might react badly to me marrying someone 41 years younger. But Somsri's argument about cultural expectations seemed reasonable. We registered the marriage at the AMFO in Hua Hin in May 2019. Simple administrative process, required proof I was free to marry, and some paperwork about finances. Somsri's family hosted a small ceremony afterward, traditional Thai wedding with monks and food and her extended family. It felt genuine and warm. Her father gave a speech about welcoming me into the family, about how he trusted I would take care of his daughter. I promised I would. The villa was completed in June 2019. The construction had taken 9 months instead of 7, some delays with material deliveries and permit inspections, but the final result was exactly what I'd wanted. Modern, clean, well-built, beautiful pool with landscaped garden. I paid the final installment, 3.4 million baht, bringing the total construction cost to 8.4 million baht as originally quoted. The property title deed for the building structure was issued in Somsri's name. This was legally required because foreigners couldn't own buildings without holding them through a company structure. And since I had the lease on the land, the simplest approach was having the building in my Thai wife's name. My lawyer said this was standard practice and that I was protected through the marriage and the land lease. We moved into the villa in July 2019. Started furnishing it, buying appliances and furniture, making it feel like home. I'd spent roughly 465,000 Australian dollars total between the land lease and construction costs. At the exchange rates through that period, that translated to about 565,000 US dollars. The villa was worth more than I'd paid, probably closer to $650,000 based on comparable sales in the area. I felt good about the investment. Even if the relationship with Somsri didn't last, I had a beautiful property on a 90-year lease that I could live in or rent or sell. The financial logic was sound. Family money requests started in August 2019. Somsri's brother needed funds for university tuition. 45,000 baht, about $1,400. Her mother needed money for medical tests. 32,000 baht. Her father wanted to invest in a friend's small business. 50,000 baht. Each request came with detailed explanation and seemed legitimate. Thai culture emphasized family support. I understood that. I had money, they didn't. Helping them seemed like the reasonable thing to do given I'd married into the family. September 2019 was when Somsri suggested I should add money to a joint Thai bank account for household expenses. She said, managing everything through my Australian accounts was inefficient because of exchange rate fluctuations and transfer fees. If we kept $100,000 or so in a Thai account jointly, we could pay bills and expenses directly without constantly transferring money internationally. It made logical sense. I transferred 3.2 million baht, about 100,000 US dollars, into a joint account at Capricorn Bank. October and November passed without major issues. We had a routine. I'd work in the garden, swim in the pool, read, explore Hua Hin. Somsri continued working at the property development company part-time. She'd meet with clients a few days a week, but was otherwise home with me. We'd have dinners with her family regularly. Her parents were warm and welcoming. Her father and I would talk about property markets and tourism trends. It felt like I'd successfully built a new life in Thailand after Christine's death. December 2019 was when I first noticed money disappearing from the joint account faster than our expenses should require. I checked the online banking and saw the balance had dropped from 3.2 million baht to 2.4 million in just 3 months. I asked Somsri about it. She said household expenses were higher than I'd realized. Food, utilities, fuel, maintenance for the pool and garden, her car expenses, entertainment, family support. She showed me some receipts, but many were handwritten notes in Thai that I couldn't verify. I told her we needed to track expenses more carefully. She agreed but seemed irritated by the conversation. January 2020 brought more family requests. Somsri's brother needed money for a new laptop and textbooks. 60,000 baht. Her mother needed dental work. 75,000 baht. Her father's business investment had failed and he needed help covering losses. 100,000 baht. I paid all of these requests from the joint account. Each time Somsri thanked me with such gratitude, told me her family was so thankful to have someone generous and caring supporting them. By February, the joint account balance was down to 1.8 million baht. March 2020 was the start of the pandemic. Thailand went into lockdown. Somsri's property development company suspended operations. She was home all the time now. Initially, this felt nice, spending time together, but gradually she became more withdrawn. She'd spend hours on her phone having conversations in Thai that she wouldn't translate. When I asked who she was talking to, she'd say family or friends, nothing important. The joint account continued draining. By May 2020, it was down to 900,000 baht. I confronted Somsri about the account in June 2020. Told her we'd gone through 2.3 million baht in 9 months, that this was unsustainable, that I needed detailed accounting of where money was going. She got defensive. Said I was being controlling and suspicious, that Thai household expenses were higher than I understood, that her family had legitimate needs I'd committed to supporting by marrying her. She said if I didn't trust her with money, maybe I didn't trust her at all, and we should reconsider the marriage. The threat of reconsidering the marriage scared me more than I want to admit. I was 70 years old, living in a foreign country, married to someone 41 years younger who I'd known for less than 2 years. The relationship was the foundation of my entire life in Thailand. If that fell apart, what did I have? A villa in her name on land I'd leased, minimal social connections beyond her family, a Thai language ability that maxed out at ordering food and giving directions to taxi drivers. I backed off from demanding detailed accounting. Told her I wasn't doubting her, just wanted to understand expenses better so I could plan appropriately. July through December 2020 continued the pattern. Family requests for money, household expenses that seemed higher than they should be, the joint account balance declining despite me transferring more funds periodically. By January 2021, I'd transferred roughly $200,000 total into that joint account, and the current balance was 300,000 baht, about $9,000. Where had nearly $200,000 gone in 18 months? Even with generous family support and inflated household spending, the math didn't work. February 2021 was when my Australian friend in Hua Hin, the one who'd originally encouraged me to move here, pulled me aside after a golf game. He said another expat he knew had experienced something similar. Thai wife, joint bank accounts that drained inexplicably, family requests that never stopped. His friend had eventually discovered the wife was taking cash from the joint account and depositing it into personal accounts the foreign husband had no access to. He suggested I check whether Somsri had bank accounts I didn't know about. I started paying closer attention. One afternoon in March, when Somsri was in the shower, I looked at her phone. She'd left it unlocked on the kitchen counter. I found banking apps for 3 different Thai banks, none of which were the Capricorn account we shared. Bangkok Bank, Siam Commercial Bank, and Krung Thai Bank. I opened each app. The balances showed 4.2 million baht, 3.6 million baht, and 2.8 million baht, respectively. Total of 10.6 million baht across 3 accounts, roughly $330,000. I felt sick. The money missing from the joint account was sitting in Somsri's personal accounts. Money I'd transferred for household expenses had been siphoned into savings I couldn't access. When I confronted her that evening, she didn't deny it. She said she was saving for our future, that she didn't trust me to always be generous given how I'd questioned expenses, that she needed financial security in case something happened to me or to the relationship. She said Thai women had to protect themselves financially because foreign men often left them with nothing. The argument escalated. I said she'd stolen from me, that moving money from a joint account to personal accounts without permission was theft. She said it was household money she'd managed appropriately, that as my wife she had the right to make financial decisions for the family's benefit. She said I was being a typical cheap Farang who expected Thai women to be grateful for scraps while keeping all real wealth for himself. I threatened to report the theft to police. She laughed and said, "Good luck explaining to Thai police that your Thai wife managing household money constituted theft." April 2021 was when I started researching divorce options. Consulted a Thai lawyer in Bangkok who specialized in foreign Thai divorce cases. He said divorce was straightforward legally, but that asset division would heavily favor Somsri. The villa was in her name. She could claim it as her property acquired during marriage, even though I'd paid for construction. He said Thai family courts assumed the foreign spouse had superior financial resources and tended to award significant assets and support to Thai spouses. He estimated I'd lose the villa plus potentially face ongoing support obligations. His advice was to negotiate a private settlement rather than going through courts. I tried negotiating with Somsri in May. Offered to let her keep the money in her personal accounts, roughly $330,000, in exchange for her signing over the villa to me or to a legal structure where I had clear ownership. She refused, said the villa was hers, the land lease was in my name, but the building belonged to her. and she wasn't giving it up. She said if I wanted a divorce, I could have one, but I'd leave with nothing. She'd get the villa and probably additional settlement from remaining assets based on how Thai courts viewed foreign men abandoning Thai wives. June 2021 was when I received a phone call from Siam Commercial Bank, a loan officer calling about an overdue payment on a mortgage secured against property at my address in Hua Hin. I said there must be a mistake. There was no mortgage on the property. The officer said there was definitely a mortgage taken out in November 2020. Current balance of 8.2 million baht. Payment was 3 weeks late. I asked for documentation. He emailed me the mortgage agreement. Somsri's signature as the borrower, the villa as collateral. Original loan amount 9 million baht, roughly $280,000. I confronted Somsri immediately. She admitted to the mortgage. Said she needed money for her family, that they'd had medical emergencies and business losses I didn't know about, that she'd borrowed against the villa because it was her property, and she had the right to use it as collateral. I asked why she hadn't told me. She said because I'd have said no, that I was too controlling about money to understand her family's needs. I asked how she'd been making payments. She said from the money in her personal accounts plus additional funds from her family. I went to see my lawyer in Bangkok the next day. Showed him the mortgage documents. He said legally Somsri had the right to mortgage the villa since it was titled in her name. The fact that I'd paid for construction didn't give me legal standing to prevent her from using the property as collateral. He said I should check whether there were other mortgages, because if she'd done it once, she might have done it multiple times. Different banks didn't always communicate about shared collateral, especially if the borrower was actively making payments and not in default. I went to the land office into Hua Hin the following week with a Thai translator, requested a complete title history for the villa property. The staff pulled the records. 3 separate mortgages registered against the property. First mortgage with Siam Commercial Bank for 9 million baht, taken out November 2020. Second mortgage with Bangkok Bank for 8.4 million baht, taken out March 2021. Third mortgage with Krung Thai Bank for 6 million baht, taken out April 2021. Total outstanding debt of 23.4 million baht, roughly $728,000, secured against a villa that had cost me $565,000 to build. I don't remember the drive back to the villa from the land office. My translator drove because I couldn't focus. The documents from the land office sat on the passenger seat. 3 mortgages, $728,000 in debt against property I'd built with my money, but that was titled in Somsri's name. Property that was now worth less than the debt against it. Property I legally had no claim to, despite having paid for every aspect of construction. When I got back to the villa, Somsri was packing. She'd heard I'd gone to the land office. Said she was moving in with her parents for a while, that we both needed space to think. I asked her how she could have taken out 3 separate mortgages totaling more than the property was worth. She said the banks had valued the property higher than construction cost, that combined with land value, the villa was assessed at 32 million baht. She said each bank had only seen their own mortgage when approving the loans, that Thai banks didn't have centralized systems that flagged multiple mortgages on the same property in real time. I asked where the money from the mortgages had gone. She said family obligations, that her father's business had failed completely and needed bailing out, that her mother had serious medical issues requiring expensive private treatment, that her brother had gotten into debt gambling and needed help. She said I wouldn't understand because I didn't have Thai family responsibilities. She said every baht she'd borrowed had gone to supporting people she loved, and she'd done nothing wrong except fail to tell me about it because she knew I'd refuse to help. I asked if she'd made any payments on any of the mortgages. She said she'd made some initial payments but had fallen behind when the money ran out. She said the banks were calling her constantly. She said I needed to help her pay the mortgages because I was her husband, and it was my responsibility to support her family obligations. She said if I divorced her, the banks would foreclose on the villa and we'd both lose everything. But if I helped pay down the mortgages, we could salvage the situation. I told her to leave. She did. Went to her parents' house that afternoon. I sat in the villa I'd built, trying to calculate whether there was any scenario where I came out of this situation with anything. I'd paid $565,000 for land and construction. I'd transferred probably another $200,000 into joint and personal accounts over 2 years. Total investment of $765,000. The villa now had $728,000 in debt against it. The property was titled in Somsri's name. Even if I paid off all 3 mortgages, which I couldn't afford to do, I still wouldn't legally own the property. My lawyer in Bangkok confirmed this when I called him from the villa. He said the villa was Somsri's asset under Thai law. The mortgages were her debts. If the banks foreclosed, they'd take the villa and possibly pursue Somsri for any deficiency. But they had no legal claim against me since my name wasn't on the mortgages or the property title. He said my only leverage was that Somsri wanted me to pay the debts to save the property. He suggested offering to pay some portion of the mortgages in exchange for clear legal ownership of the villa through a company structure, but he doubted she'd agree because giving up the villa meant losing her collateral and leverage. I attempted negotiation one more time in July 2021, met Somsri at a restaurant in town, brought my lawyer to mediate. Offered to pay off the smallest mortgage, the 6 million baht with Krung Thai Bank, in exchange for her transferring the villa into a Thai company structure where I'd have controlling interest. She refused. Said 6 million wasn't enough, that she'd need at least 15 million baht, roughly $460,000, to pay down enough debt to keep the banks from foreclosing. She said if I really loved her and cared about her family, I'd help without demanding ownership changes. I told her I was filing for divorce. She said fine, that she'd get the villa in the divorce settlement anyway, based on Thai family law. My lawyer explained that she was probably right, that foreign spouses typically lost property disputes in Thai courts regardless of who'd paid for construction. He said my only real options were to walk away from everything and return to Australia, or to continue living in the villa while the mortgage situation played out, knowing the banks would eventually foreclose, but that process could take a year or more. I chose to walk away, returned to Australia in August 2021, moved in with my daughter in Brisbane temporarily. I'm 70 now, living in a retirement community in Queensland that costs me $1,800 monthly rent. I have roughly $95,000 remaining in accessible savings. My Australian pension gives me about $2,000 monthly. I'm financially stable enough to survive, but I've lost more than 80% of my retirement assets to a scheme I never fully understood until it was too late. Somsri still owns the villa. I checked the land office records online recently. The mortgages are all still registered. At least 2 of the 3 banks have initiated foreclosure proceedings, according to what my Thai lawyer told me. But Thai foreclosure processes move slowly. Somsri's living in the villa still, posting photos on social media of the pool and garden I paid to build. She's with someone new, another Western man, looks to be in his 60s based on the photos. I wonder if he knows about the mortgages or if he's the next mark in whatever scheme she's running. My daughters have been sympathetic but frustrated. They'd been concerned when I married Somsri, had told me the age gap and cultural differences were red flags, but I dismissed their worries as overprotective. They're disappointed I ignored them, but they're helping me rebuild some kind of life here in Brisbane. My son-in-law is a financial advisor, and he's helped me set up a budget and investment plan with what little I have left. We don't talk about Thailand. It's an understood topic to avoid. Other expats in my retirement community have similar stories. Australian men who retired to Southeast Asia with substantial savings, met younger local women, built houses or bought property, lost everything to schemes they didn't recognize as schemes until it was over. One man lost almost $1 million to a bar business in Pattaya that his Thai wife had registered in her name and then sold without telling him. Another had his condo mortgaged 3 times like my villa. The patterns are identical across the stories. Older Western men with money, younger local women with financial motivations, property titled in the woman's name, secret mortgages or sales or business dealings, eventual discovery, catastrophic loss. The lesson everyone tells me I should have learned is obvious. Don't put property in someone else's name, regardless of legal structures or marriage status. Don't assume property expertise in one country translates to another. Don't trust that being married provides adequate protection against financial fraud. Don't believe that cultural obligations explain money disappearing into family black holes. I knew all these things intellectually. I'd been a successful property investor for 43 years. But knowing and applying knowledge are different when you're lonely and grieving, and someone makes you feel valued again. The triple mortgage fraud was sophisticated in hindsight. Somsri worked in property development and understood how Thai banks operated. She knew they didn't have real-time centralized systems for checking multiple mortgages on the same property. She knew each bank would value the property independently and approve loans based on their assessment without seeing what other banks had already lent. She knew foreign husbands typically put property in Thai wives' names and rarely monitored title records after construction finished. She knew most foreign men wouldn't discover the mortgages until banks started calling about missed payments, by which time the borrowed money would be gone and the foreigner would face the choice of paying debts on property he didn't legally own or walking away from everything. I chose to walk away, but the loss still haunts me. Not just the money, though $700,000 is significant at 70 years old. More the humiliation of being professionally skilled in property investment and still getting destroyed by someone who understood the local system better than I did. More the realization that I'd been a transaction from the beginning, that everything Somsri had done was calculated to extract maximum value before I figured out the scheme. The family dinners, the cultural explanations, the marriage ceremony, the gratitude for helping her family, all of it was performance designed to keep me paying until the mortgages maxed out the property value. I'm 70 years old. I have maybe 10 to 15 years remaining. Those years will be lived in modest circumstances in a retirement community in Brisbane, a city I never particularly liked, but where my daughter lives and can help me. I had planned to spend retirement in a beautiful villa in Hua Hin with someone I'd thought cared about me. Instead, I'm back in Australia with $95,000 and a pension, having lost everything I'd built over 4 decades of property investment to a mortgage fraud scheme I should have caught, but didn't because I wanted to believe in the relationship more than I wanted to protect my assets. If you're a Western man considering retirement in Thailand or anywhere in Southeast Asia, and if you're planning to build property or invest significant money in a relationship with someone from a vastly different economic background, here's what you need to understand. The legal systems don't protect foreign property owners the same way Western systems do. Thai property law, Thai banking practices, Thai family court dynamics all favor local nationals over foreigners. Your property expertise from your home country means nothing in a system designed to operate differently. The cultural explanations for constant money needs are often tactics to normalize financial extraction. And the women who specialize in these schemes understand the vulnerabilities of older Western men better than those men understand themselves. Get independent verification of everything. Hire lawyers who work for you, not for the development company or the woman you're involved with. Check title records regularly at the land office. Don't assume marriage provides legal protection. Don't put significant assets in someone else's name, regardless of assurances about legal structures. Don't accept cultural explanations without verifying them through multiple independent sources. Don't trust that being careful and skeptical means you're being insulting or culturally insensitive. I did none of those things because I was lonely, and Somsri made me feel less lonely. I did none of those things because I'd been successful in property investment my entire adult life and assumed that competence translated across borders. I did none of those things because questioning the relationship felt like admitting it might be transactional rather than genuine. By the time I discovered the three mortgages, $728,000 had been borrowed against property I'd built, and I had no legal standing to prevent foreclosure on a villa I'd never actually owned despite paying for every aspect of its construction. The villa in Hua Hin cost me $565,000 to build. The mortgages against it totaled $728,000. I'll never see any of that money again. That's the story. That's what happens when you trust legal structures you don't fully understand and relationships you want to believe in more than you want to protect yourself financially. I spent 43 years building wealth through property investment and lost most of it in 3 years to someone who understood mortgage fraud better than I understood Thai banking systems.